I am Mary of Bethany. I don't talk with people very often in large groups. But I heard that you are Jesus' disciples, and so am I. And so are my brother and my sister. You might know them. My sister is Martha. My brother is Lazarus. We live in a farm just outside of Jerusalem. A lot of people have heard of Lazarus. In these past few months, he's become very famous. I think I'd better explain. A few years ago, my brother and sister and I heard about a teacher, a prophet maybe, a man named Jesus, and he was walking around our countryside, and he was speaking with people about God, and yet everyone said that when he talked to them about God, it was like he knew God himself, and he was teaching them more about God's love. With authority, he taught. And not only that, he was healing people. Jesus performed miracles of healing. There was a man not far from us who couldn't walk, and Jesus healed him, and he was able to walk again. There was someone who had been born blind, and Jesus let them see again. Well, my family and I were curious, but we were also bold, and we invited Jesus to come over to our house for dinner, and he did. He came with his disciples, and he came and he sat in our home with the disciples around him, and my brother Lazarus was sitting with him, and I sat there too with the disciples, and as I listened to Jesus, it was not like anyone I'd ever heard. There was something, and I can't even describe it, something about him that gave me a feeling of such joy and such peace. As I listened, and he talked about how God is our family, how God loves us and forgives us, and that God's plans for us are plans for good, not harm. And while I listened, my sister Martha all of a sudden came into the room, and she was very upset with me because she was having to do all this work for all these people and prepare the dinner. And she said, "Jesus, tell my sister Mary to come in and help me with all my work." And I'll never forget what Jesus said. Jesus said, "Martha, you are so good at your work, but it's distracting you from what's most important. And Mary has chosen the better part. She's being with me while I'm here, and listening to me and learning from me. And this is what's most important for life." And that changed my life. It was a wonderful night. But then a few months ago, my brother, whom I love so much, my brother Lazarus got very, very sick, and we don't know what it was that he had, but he got sick, and he got sick, and he got worse really fast. And we were so worried, and so we sent a friend of ours to go and run and to go find Jesus, because we knew that if Jesus would come, that Jesus could heal Lazarus. And we waited. And while we waited for Jesus, Lazarus got worse, and he got worse, And the waiting was so hard. And maybe you've had to wait like that. And while we waited, my brother died. And we wrapped him in the burial cloths, and we brought him and we laid him in a cave. That's where we bury people in my family. And after 4 days, Jesus came. And when I heard that he was coming, I ran out to meet him. I said, Jesus, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. And I just cried. And Jesus looked at me. And he cried. He cried with me, and I could tell that he loved Lazarus so much and that he loved me. Then he said, where is he? And so I walked with him, and I showed him where we'd laid him. And Jesus called his name. He said, Lazarus, come out. And you might not believe this, but I saw this with my own eyes, and so did everyone who was there. My brother, who was dead, walked out of the burial cave, alive and well. Jesus has the power over death. He brought my brother from death to life. I'd gone out weeping, but then I was just filled with joy. And so today, my sister and brother are hosting a feast to thank Jesus. My brother, who is such a talented farmer, he's so good with the land, and he's so good with the animals and the crops. And he has prepared the best of his produce, and he's given that to my sister Martha for the feast. And my sister Martha is the best cook in this whole countryside, and she is preparing a wonderful feast for Jesus and his disciples. I wondered if I had a talent. And then I thought to that night years ago with Jesus, and I realized, I think my talent is that I love learning. I love learning about God. And I love Jesus. And I love you. And I love telling people about Jesus. And so I also wanted to give him something tangible, and so I spent all of my money, and I bought this special oil. You can maybe even smell it. It is so amazing. It's very, very expensive. And I am going to take this special oil tonight while we are with Jesus, and I'm going to pour it on his feet that must be so sore and so dry from all the walking he does all around the countryside, helping so many people. So I'm going to pour this on his feet in hopes that will comfort him and also stay with him to prepare him for his ministry. This is something that actually only rich people can afford to buy. And you know what they do? They take this and they pour it over people who have died in their families. But I know that Jesus has power over death. Jesus called my brother's name and brought him out of death to life. And I believe that one day, when my sister Martha and when you die, Jesus will call our name and he will resurrect us from death to life with him. Maybe you have a gift. Maybe you have a talent that you would like to share with Jesus. You are all invited to come tonight with us. You are all invited to our feast. And I hope maybe tomorrow you can come with us as well. Tomorrow we are all going to walk into Jerusalem with Jesus. Well, actually, Jesus isn't going to walk. My brother Lazarus told me that he's going to give him one of his young donkeys so that Jesus can ride into Jerusalem. But my friends and I and the disciples will all be with Jesus, and we are going to be shouting at the top of our lungs, "This is the one who's come in the name of the Lord. Blessed is he. He is the Messiah. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords." We'll wave palm branches and shout hosannas. Oh, I'd better get going. I need to explain to Martha that I invited a lot more people to dinner tonight. The Lord be with you.